Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Last Ride. If you're new here, my name is John, and man, missed y'all. It's been a minute. I'm glad to be back. Man, it feels like such a long time since I posted on here. Anyway, we're in good old hot Atlanta, and I figured roads would be kind of a mess coming down here. We just got some snow last night back towards home, and I was expecting the roads to be pretty bad, but they're not. They were fine this morning when I left out. Had a little bit of white here and there, and in a couple spots, but nothing really all that dangerous or anything. I wouldn't even really say it's slick, more like a dusting. But hey, man, welcome back. Like, I'm glad to be back at it, being able to post and stuff again. Hopefully I can keep up my routine here, and everything not getting in the way. My gosh. Man, when life happens, it happens. But like I said, glad to be back. Glad to see y'all again. We got another good one for you. Going down here to Atlanta, Georgia, and hey, check it out. Got the new microphone, so I hope this thing is doing good. Getting to try it out, and hopefully it's a permanent fit. And as much as I love this thing and it does the job, and I still use it, don't get me wrong, just because you don't see me using it on here, and you still might see me using it on here, on and off a bit, just because it is very convenient. I usually always have it on, but man, I love this thing. I've been testing it out with just goofing around at home with it, and I'm very, very impressed with this microphone. I believe it does the job. At least it does around the house. Now, being that I'm in this truck and it's a much louder environment, I'm anxious to see how the noise cancellation does, as far as being able to take out the noise of the road and the motor of this truck and everything else that's surrounding it, and being able to hone in on just my voice. But like I said, I've tried it in any other environment around the house, and I'm blown away. I'm impressed. I'll leave a link in the description down below for this microphone if any of you happen to be interested in making the shift or switch to going this route. And you're, like I said, you're hearing it right now. You're hearing it firsthand. So however it's sounding to you is it's it. So like I said, it's impressed me above and beyond. But anyway, okay, so today's topic. Okay, I feel so stupid for this happening, but so a little while back, I was in North Carolina, and I was on my way to Georgia, and on my way, it's foggy. And I could see fine, but there was some fog in the air. And man, I was in the cattle ton truck, and I had a pretty good day. I'd already been to one stop. I was on my way to my second and final stop, and man, I get pulled over for an inspection, which is common. Like we get pulled over pretty common for inspections, because we're the type of trucks we're in. We kind of make for an easy inspection for, say, a DOT officer. Foggy morning, I'm going along, and DOT officer gets behind me, pulls me over. Well, matter of fact, I saw him. I seen him. He was coming the opposite direction, and I happened to look, and I was like, whoa. I was like, I wonder if he turned. Pulls me over, and like I said, it's a little foggy. The place that I'm pulling into was not exactly what I would say safe. So when he pulls up, I poked my head out the window, and I said, "Hey," I said, "would you like me to pull further down out of the way?" He said, "As a matter of fact, yeah." He said, "That's not a bad idea." He said, he said, "We'll pull on down where it's a little safer," because this place I was at, like, it was like a little rest area. So I'm not on the main, like, I'm not on like an interstate. I'm on like a highway, and it had a rest area, and it's like down in this hole, right? So when you pull off the road, you kind of go down a couple curves, and you're down here in this little rest area thing. Well, so I get pulled in down there, and he said, "How's it going?" I said, "Doing fine." He said, "Man," I said, "I'm just going to do a quick inspection with you, real quick, and everything." And he said, "No, you be on about your way." I said, "Okay, no problem." And here I was sitting there, and I was comfortable, like we do this all the time. There's nothing to this. Like, I'll be here a few minutes, and then I'll be about my way. And I thought, well, I'm good. I'm in good shape. I'm gonna pass this and move on. Well, he comes up to the truck, and he said, "Do you got come up the driver's side?" He said, "Where's your DOT numbers at?" I said, they're on the side of the truck. They said, "Where?" I looked, and I got out, and I looked, and I said, "They're on the side of the truck here." He said, "Well, I don't see them nowhere." He said, "You care to pull them out to me?" I said, "Yeah." I got out, and I looked, and I realized what happened. So the truck I was in about a month prior, a car had hit the side of the truck, right where the toolbox is, and right where the toolbox meets the door. All of our DOT numbers and everything are on the side of the toolboxes. So I got out, and I looked, and that toolbox wasn't there. And I've known that toolbox was not there, but I totally forgot that the DOT numbers were attached to it. So I got out to show it to him, and when I did, I realized that toolbox wasn't there. In my mind, I said, "Oh crap!" I said, "Man," I said, "I'm sorry." I said, "This truck was in an accident about a month ago." I said, where it got hit on the toolbox. I said, and the DOT numbers and stuff were on the side of that toolbox. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I apologize. He said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah." He said, "I understand." He said, "But just just so you know," he said, "DOT numbers have to be on both sides of the vehicle." I said, "Okay." I said, "Man," I said, "My apologies." I said, I'm new at all this. I said, "I was unaware." I said, "I know we have it on one side." And he said, "Okay." And so we went through. We done the signaling. We done turn signals 4 ways, honk the horn, and the whole works. Flat, headlights and the whole works. And man, I feel so stupid too, because I had, what inspections I've had, nobody has mentioned anything. Like, they've never asked me for fire extinguisher, because in this truck, fire extinguisher is sitting right underneath me, right as you open the door. Easy to see, easy to find. And I'm used to that, because I had been doing nothing but box truck runs. I'd done some box truck runs, and while being so used to, as soon as I open the door, the fire extinguisher's right there. Well, he asked me for the fire extinguisher. He said, "Where's your fire extinguisher and your safety triangles?" And I was like, "Oh man, it's in the back seat." Like, it's not in the back seat, but it's right here. It's right behind me. And he said, "You mind if I see it?" "Oh, I don't mind." I reach around and I look. There's no fire extinguisher there. And I was like, well, maybe it rolled, maybe it's under the seat. Well, I don't know what happened to this fire extinguisher, but it's not here. So I looked around, didn't find it, and I told him, I said, man, I'm sorry. Again, I sincerely apologize. I said, my fire extinguisher is not in here. And I said, it must have been in the toolbox as well. And he said, what about your safety triangles? I said, same thing. I said, my safety triangles are not in here either. And I said, everything must have been inside of that toolbox. I said, I promise you, we don't, like, we keep up with our stuff, but like, we keep our stuff with us is what I'm saying. But anyway, it was not with me. So he said, well, that's all right. Okay. He said, I'll be back with you here in just a minute. And he said, you can go ahead and get back in your car or in your truck. So I get back in the truck, and I sat there for a little while, for a long while. He pulls up, and he pulls up there to the window. He said, man, I'm really sorry about this. He said, I'm gonna have to go up to the top of the hill and get service to be able to do everything. I said, okay, well, I thought, top of the hill, he'll be back in a minute. So he goes up top of the hill somewhere. Took him forever to be up there, which I know those things take a while. Like, once you're, like, I've sat through a few of them, they can take a minute. And man, it took this dude like 30 minutes. So he must have really had some, like, serious issues that day with getting service. So he finally comes back some 30 to 45 minutes later, and I'm sitting, like, this rest area, it's almost like a park. Like, there were some people started pulling in, and they were walking around and whatever, and I had one worker there come up, and he spoke with me and stuff, and he was talking to me, because he saw me pulled over, and we were talking about the situation. He said, man, I wouldn't doubt if you get a ticket. Sure enough, cop comes back down the hill, pulls up, and after all that waiting and everything, he still gave me a ticket for it. Now, it wasn't a ticket that I necessarily had to, like, say, pay for, because it wasn't like a moving violation. It was just, I just didn't have some of the equipment. But and I feel stupid. Like, I really feel so stupid, because that's something that I should have double checked. I should have made sure that I had it on here. But I was certain that it was on here, because we don't touch those things. You know what I mean? Like those things are usually sitting in the vehicle, and you don't think nothing else about it. You know they're there. And you go on. Well, so my lesson is learned that make sure you have your fire extinguisher and stuff. But truck drivers, commercial drivers of all kinds, make sure you have fire extinguisher and safety triangles and DOT numbers on both sides of the vehicle. That's my lesson learned from that ticket. The guy was super nice though, but I will say one thing. When he said that's all right, my initial thought was okay, he's not going to write me a ticket for this. Like, he's going to just verbally warn me, hey, make sure you have those in there. I'm going to let you go with a warning. Sign over. But he didn't. He wrote it down on a ticket and gave it to me. So, but anyway, like I said, we're on our way to good old Hotlanta. We're just a couple minutes here away from our stop, and no promises, but I'm going to show as much of what I can to you all of the unloading. I couldn't show the loading process. I like doing the loading and unloading on here, and I think you all like it too. But I don't know. To me, it can. If I do it just right, it's a little satisfying. I ain't gonna lie. It's a little ASMR satisfying. So this one, I got 3 of these. I have 3 42-inch volts.
So, all right, does that help? So you can see how big these are. They're big. You could easily put 2 people in here, no problem. Man, I got blessed with 3 of them, not just 1 of them, but 3. Now, if you're wondering, my unloading process probably takes 30 minutes to an hour to unload full truck. And that's full truck going to 1 stop. Come on, baby. Other difficulties of the job can sometimes include this right here. Just simply unloading the truck. And because these vaults are 42 by 92, 42, 92, sometimes it's a little troublesome getting them through the door. So you have to squat them through the door. Always makes for fun. No. There we go. Bingo. Man. 3 of them. Hear that forklift going by. So, one of the things about this job that I am having to get used to is it is a little bit of a tension getter, because what I do for a living is not something that you typically hear in conversation as to what people do for a living. You know, there's accountants and there's marketing directors and there's doctors, lawyers, you know, your typical 9-to-5 stuff. This ain't one of those. This is a, you know, you do what for a living? Yeah, you know, it's an eye popper, it's a tension getter, and I take that with a sense of pride. Like I appreciate that. Like, you know, a death logistics driver, I guess, is one way, is another name you can put on it. It's the business of death, or a funeral, or whatever. And we have, you know, these vaults have to get there somehow. They don't magically show up. So I mean, yeah, it's not something you think about every day, how the vaults get from place to place, so on, or how they magically show up at the funeral homes or whatever. So, but yeah, I love the fact that, like, you know, it's like, hey, like, man, you know, like, what do you do for a living? Well, I haul burial vaults and caskets. What? Like, my favorite thing, my favorite question is always, like, are people in them? No. Nobody's in them. Not when I take them, at least. When I take them, there's nobody in them. So, or here's my favorite, is when they go,
oh. And then it just never, like, it never comes across. Like, for example, you know, I work for such and such, whatever, and the name's in the title. And they're like, oh. They're like, so, it's funny to me how it comes across, because it's never clear cut. It's never really straightforward when people mention it. Because, like, for example, like if I go to, like, say, Pilot or somewhere to get fuel, and I have to tell them the company name, and then they're like, that's usually when I get the look, or they'll raise up and they'll look at me like, oh. It's funny. I don't know, it's funny. They're like, okay. And then that's when the questions start coming in. So, but yeah, I like it. I kind of like the attention getter that comes with the, you know, oh, you do what for a living? You know, because when you're at family reunions or when you're at you know, 4th of July gatherings and stuff, you see people, family and stuff you ain't seen in forever. They're like, what are you doing now? And I haul barrel vaults and caskets for a living. Like, oh, okay, yeah. And then they don't know what to say. Or then it starts coming around, they start asking questions. It's funny. It's a funny conversation to be a part of. But, anywho, hey, man, listen, you all have been awesome through this ride. This, what little short stint I've had and I've been on here, man, I appreciate y'all so much. Really, you guys are awesome. But yeah, I'm headed back home now from Atlanta. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to be passing through Knoxville right here momentarily. But hey, listen, I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. I hope this video sounds well. Sound has produced better on the audio end of things. I hope the microphone is handling things well, and I hope you all are able to hear me clearly. Because like I said, I had some issues while I was unloading, and the audio was bad, and that was my fault. Again, I'll take accountability. It was 100% my fault. Nothing to do with the microphone necessarily. I got to learn how to tweak it. Still getting used to it. This is my first time to really use it in my videos, so bear with me. I promise things are going to keep getting better, and the channel is going to keep getting better and better each video that I post. At least that's the plan anyway. That's what I'm striving towards. So yeah, hey, listen, you all have been awesome. I appreciate it. If you stuck around this long for any amount of time, I appreciate it more than you will ever know. But I've got some good videos coming up here in the next few weeks that I'm going to try to put out. But hey, listen, I love y'all. Appreciate y'all from the bottom of my heart. Y'all have a good day and a good rest of your day. And I'll see y'all in the next one. My name's John. This has been The Last Ride. Have a good one.